So the next large topic is scope. Scope is an interesting thing to think about when you are dealing with the var keyword, when you're dealing with this, when you're dealing with several different things. But basically, it's a way to organize your code into a smaller, small manageable chunks. Okay. Theoretically, you can do basically everything with the exception of like an infinite loop without any scopes. You can't do an infinite loop without scopes. I don't think. I cannot think of a condition where you could. You can't do loops or anything like that without scopes, but theoretically you could, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Scopes are a way to just break your code into small manageable chunks, and they are inside of curly brackets. So similar to functions, they will create a scope that you can work with and do stuff. And that also interacts with the garbage collector. After you're done with the scope, the garbage collector will go in and destroy all the memory that you accessed. Not destroy it, but get rid of all the pointers and crap that you access when using that scope. So yeah, before we talk more about scope, we first need to break blocks. Okay, so this is a block function. Okay, so this creates a scope that when you run log sky color, it will run the stuff inside of this curly bracket scope. Okay, similar to the arrow function thing where you don't need the brackets and it's only one line, that also creates a scope. It's just one line, but it does create a scope. Same thing with these if statements. These if statements create these curly brackets which have a scope. The switch statement, the if else, what else? The function, we talked about that. What other things create scope? Oh, if you just have these brackets by themselves and they're not like assigned to anything like an object would be, those also would be scoped. And you can label those and break out of those, continue, whatever. For loops create scopes. Do while or while loops create scopes. There are all sorts of things that create scopes. So scopes is just a way to make your code and break it into smaller chunks. So at top of main.js, const city equals New York City and exist outside the block. Run. Below the city variable, let city or what? Const log city skyline equals something. Run. Inside the function body, log city skyline, write another variable, let skyscraper. Let skyscraper equals Empire State Building. Yep, run. Return that. All right, beneath log city skyline, use the console.log. Access the value of log city skyline. Okay, so what do we expect will happen? So we are running log city skyline, and we create a variable over here, which is inside of this block. I'm actually going to const that because we don't change it. So we create a constant right here inside of that scope, and we are returning city scraper, or skyscraper, sorry, and the city. We're concatenating these strings together. So this city is defined outside of this scope. Will this function be able to access this scope? The answer is yes. So in what situation will this not be able to access that? Well, if this is defined in a different scope, for example, like that, it will fail because city is not defined in the global scope or in a scope that this function has access to. So that's where that's why understanding scope is really important. And if you pass in city in here, what will this city be referring to? So this city will not be referring to this one anymore. This city will be referring to this city. So naming your variables and trying to name them differently than your global variables is very helpful. And so in this situation, if I run, it'll be undefined because I didn't actually pass in city in here. Now if I pass in city, now it will be New York City. So understanding scopes and how variable naming and all of that stuff, it's all really important to understand. So I'm going to just quickly review. We declared city over here. We passed city in, and then we are using a different city keyword or a city variable. It's assigning to another variable named city that is not accessing this one, and returning that. Now, this kind of stuff gets into gets kind of difficult because, like, you're managing state. Like, say you change what city is inside of here. So, city equals high. Okay. If I console.log city over here, what will this be? Will this fail because this is a constant and I'm passing a constant inside of here? Will it actually reassign this constant, or will it not? What will this log? This is interesting. What will happen? So before we run this program, let's look at what's happening. So we assign const city to New York City. We are passing city into log city skyline, and city, this city is a different thing. So I'm actually going to rename that param city. Okay. So now param city, this is now reassigning param city to high, and it's returning param city over here. Okay. Now this should say log city skyline city. So the stars are over skyscraper, the Empire State Building, in high because I'm reassigning this to high. But I didn't actually reassign this city. I just reassigned the city that I passed in, the value that I passed in, which reassigned or assigned param city to being the value of what this city is. And so console.log city should say New York City and not high. So let's run that. There we go. The stars are over the Empire State Building in high because we reassign it here, and it did work because param city is not a constant. This is a variable, and it returns param city over here, but it does not reassign const city in here because it is a constant, and it's also reassigning inside of a different scope and a completely different variable inside of that different scope. So this is kind of convoluted, kind of complicated, but understanding what is going on here is really important. If you are confused, watch it again because this gets into different paradigms and like functional versus functional programming and stuff like that. Why does this work? What not to do in functional programming? This is important. And so if you're confused about this, watch it again, or just like ask questions because this is why scope is a thing. So anyway, let's get out. We have done functional scope, block scopes. We're going to get into global scope next. So I'll see you in the next video.